This has certainly been one of the low points in podcast history covering the Browns, talking Browns. We've had some really poor seasons that we've talked about. And this is not the right path for the Browns. A 1-4 start, a very ugly loss to the Commanders. Everyone is being, we're looking at every position, coaches, owners, everyone is to blame. Everyone must change. But that's not going to happen. The one truth here is that we're going to go play the Eagles this week. It will be another game, another chance to turn things around for these Browns, and a chance to actually mess up the Eagles season. Eric, let's go to you first here. Eagles not exactly having a great year. Some turmoil. We also saw with the Jets, some turmoil there. Can the Browns get back on track against the Eagles here?
I'm not seeing it on my first glance, but maybe that could change by the end of this this call. But the difficult thing for the Browns is going to be the likely return of AJ Brown and DeVonta Smith. Not only will they have to face their top two wideouts, the secondary has been playing well against not necessarily great wideouts. So if you look at the Eagles' last game against the Buccaneers, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, and I think it's Grant Calcaterra were their leading receivers for a combined 120 yards. That's two tight ends and a running back. You insert two solid wide receivers to that core, and you keep Barkley as a receiving option. That's going to change things tremendously. Martin Emerson, I don't know what to say. He's regressed tremendously. I don't expect him to get back into shape, at least not this week. The other corner, the good one, Denzel Ward got burnt by his college teammate, Terry McLaurin, last week. He's a great player, but I don't expect him to be rounding out into the shape he was earlier, even last year. The biggest thing has been the tackling or lack thereof. And outside of a couple of nice plays by JOK, this defense has been pathetic. They've been looking the way they were before Jim Schwartz arrived in 2023. So, unfortunately, we were hoping we were past that area of just, kind of just giving up and surrendering yards and points and everything. But seems like we're kind of back to the way things were, and that's not encouraging at all. Offensively, I have really no hope right now. Watson's under center. That's what they're gonna say. Not switching things up. But once he snaps the ball, he looks like he has no clue what he's doing. He's overthrowing passes. He's missing wide open targets. The one that sticks out is that quick hitter to David Njoku that he had a Derek Anderson throw where he 120 miles on a 2-yard pass. And then also the turnovers. So until something clicks, I don't have confidence. And then last thing I'll say is the combo of Zach Zinter and DeJuan Jones looked like maybe they could go back to college for a year or two and try to get some seasoning, because for whatever reason they don't look like they're ready in the NFL. So unless we can get some early turnovers and convert those into touchdowns or get pick sixes or scoop and scores and put the pressure on them, I don't see too many scenarios where we're going to be happy at about 4:15 on Sunday.
Schedule makers not exactly nice to us. 3-game road trip. Eagles coming off of a bye. We go to Philly for this game. Drew, you've got some friends in Philly. Wouldn't we want to give them a nightmare Sunday?
Sure. I would love to be able to do that. I would love to be able to participate on the text chain, but that is not going to happen. I just, maybe this is the time that they decide to show up here. But just if I'm looking at the realistic pieces here, there's a reason they're 9-point underdogs. There's a reason this is the biggest spread of the week. It's because this is a pretty bad team going up to play, an away game against a team that they don't look like world beaters. They might not even be a playoff team, but they sure look to be better, a heck of a lot better than the team that's coming their way. And that is damning for the Browns, damning with faint praise. this Eagles team is not world beaters, and I think everybody would be the first to say that to you. But to be that big of an underdog just goes to show you that everyone else has finally lost some faith in this team as well. Like us fans have, much quicker. We saw what happened in training camp. Really, there hasn't been much of a bright spot. Going forward, I have two really big concerns with not just the team, not just the players, but with the front office itself. My first huge concern is that finally the reporters are starting to ask some of the questions that you heard us asking 2 weeks ago here on the podcast, and that is namely, why is the guy that coordinates the offense not calling the offense? It has never made sense. We're the only franchise in professional sports history to try this. We've done it twice now, and both times it has been an unmitigated disaster. Like, I don't know why we're the fan base that has to live through this nightmare a second time. That's my first huge concern. And my second huge concern is actually thinking about some of the names that Eric has said, and looking at the history of Andrew Berry's ability to add talent to the team. I think he's been, by and large, a fairly decent general manager, but you look at one spot in particular, Jedrick Wills, DeJuan Jones, James Hudson, Zach Zinter. These are not all like 7th round picks we're talking about. We're talking about 10th overall pick. We're talking about a pair of 3rd rounders in there. Like, this team, these players, they ought to be a little better than they are, especially on the offensive line and especially at the wide receiver position, more so through trades than through picks. But I have a lot of concerns, not just of this immediate roster, because obviously it's not working. I have big concerns now over our ability to build a good roster for what comes next. And that's not something I thought I'd say no matter what happened this year.
We said a couple weeks back, you said it, missing Bill Callahan. If there's a scapegoat to be had, some of the new faces coaching the offense, Stefanski is going to be untouchable 2 Coach of the Years. He will not go the way of Robert Saleh. But
I don't know, man. You're talking about Jackrabbit Jimmy. He could fire everybody tomorrow. Would anybody be surprised? I balk at untouchable when you're talking about Jackrabbit Jimmy Haslam, man. The guy's got rabbit ears. He hears everything anybody says, and if this stuff keeps going the way it's going, man, I don't know that anybody's safe.
Eagles are ranked 27th when it comes to defense yards allowed, 27th in the NFL. The Jags are around there. I've got the Jags at 31st in the NFL. So if there is a bright spot, it's one of the weaker defenses as far as giving up yards. Could see some similar results. But I'll end it with this. I think there's confidence that the Eagles are facing the hapless Browns. But how horrible would it be coming around? Your coach is going to be in trouble if you lose to the Browns. There is a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts to look better than Deshaun Watson. Yeah, of those 2 quarterbacks, I would take Deshaun Watson incredibly there. I would still build with Deshaun and definitely would take Kevin Stefanski over Nick Sirianni. Sirianni's in trouble.
The last part's true. His views are not shared of everybody on the podcast. I'm sorry to interrupt.
But how horrible would it be if they lose and they have to deal with a Browns loss? Sirianni might not be around for long. Let's go Browns. Let's see what happens.
Go Browns. Come on.